Welcome back, YouTubers. This is Inland Northwest Native News, and it's a great day to be Indigenous. My name is Jeff Ferguson. I'm your host, and we've got episode 9 for you. We got highlights coming from the canoe journey, going all the way up to Kettle Falls from the drop-in point down at Grand Coulee. We've got highlights from the salmon ceremony up there, and we got interviews with Chad Yellowjohn, canoe skipper Nathan Piengkham. We've also got an interview with Elizabeth Johnstone, another Spokane tribal member who I believe is on her 3rd year. We've got an interview with Spokane tribal youth Sadie Hill and Dr. Michel from Upper Columbia United Tribe. And he's got an update for us on the salmon restoration project that UCUT's been working on the Upper Columbia. So stick around. We've got a ton of announcements. We got great events coming up all throughout Indian country. Once again, thank you for joining us. If you haven't been here before, you'd like to keep up with us, be sure to click on the red subscribe button down in the right-hand corner of your screen. There'll be a bell that pops up after that. Just click on that bell and you'll be notified on every new episode that we got going up. We got about one coming up once a week now. The next episode will be all Native teams down at Hoop Fest in downtown Spokane. We've also got an interview from Chad Yellowjohn, Spokane tribal member, fresh back from school at IAIA in Santa Fe. We get to look at some of his newest pieces that he's got going on, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his work and his motivation and kind of how he got started. But stick around, you guys. That'll be something definitely to check out. Moving right along, we have a ton of announcements, and I've just got a couple stories here real quick that I'm going to cover. Congratulations to Joy Harjo. She's the first Native American woman to become the U.S. Poet Laureate. So congratulations to her. Joy Harjo, the acclaimed poet, writer, and musician from Muskogee Creek Nation, has been named the next U.S. Poet Laureate. She is the first Indigenous woman to hold the title, succeeding Tracy K. Smith as the country's 23rd Poet Laureate consultant in poetry, the official title. The news was confirmed today by Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. So again, congratulations to Joy Harjo. Moving right along from the Billings Gazette on June 19th, Senate panel focuses on missing slain Indigenous women. Lawmakers pressed the Trump administration on Wednesday to respond with urgency in addressing violence against Native American women and children after they say 2 officials arrived at a key U.S. Senate hearing unprepared to take concrete positions on a slate of legislation. The U.S. State Committee on Indian Affairs held the hearing in Washington to review 5 bipartisan measures aimed at tackling domestic violence, homicides, and disappearance on tribal lands. What a great movement in the right direction for the missing and murdered Indigenous men and women of this country. So that's really good to hear. Again, I'll leave links in the comment section below. I'm just going to touch on these briefly because we have so many announcements this week. On the Colville Res, congratulations to all the graduates up there. There's a graduate recognition ceremony up in Inchalim, Thursday, 25th of July at 6 p.m. at the Inchalim Community Center. All right. Public meeting, June 26th at the Lucy Covington Government Center Auditorium at Nispelem. The Environmental Trust Department will host our annual public meeting on Wednesday, June 26th, to present the site record. The site record is a list of sites where hazardous waste cleanup occurred in 2018 or is expected to be worked on in 2019 using 128A Tribal Response Program EPA grant funds. The public is invited to provide comments, ask questions, and receive information on accessing the Environmental Trust Response Program Information Repository. This year's site records will include information on the following sites: former Omak Colville Indian Pine and Veneer, former Inchalim Wood Treatment Plant, Summit Lake off Highway 155 in Omak, and Colville Tribe Resident Fish Hatchery in Bridgeport, Washington. So be sure to check that out. Coming up July 4th and 5th, 1 to 7 p.m. for First Friday, the Titwáatit Gallery at 312 Spokane Way in Grand Coulee, Washington is hosting an art show, so be sure to check that out. Also at the same gallery, August 31st, the 5th annual art show will be held and hosted by the NNDF, the Northwest Native Development Fund. That'll be Saturday, August 31st from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you're out there at the end of August, be sure to check that out. Another event for the NNDF coming up, preparing your financials. They've got a couple different workshops they're doing. The first one is Saturday, August 17th at 9 a.m. The second one is Sunday, August 18th at 9 a.m. And they're going to be held at the NNDF office at 504 First Street in Coulee Dam, Washington. Again, preparing your financials. So if you're in the area, you want want to check out some information that they have offering on your financials, be sure to check that out. Indian Entrepreneurship coming up July 27th. It's Omak Indian Entrepreneurship. So they have the 27th, 28th, and August 3rd. This will be at the at 12 Tribes Resort and Casino in Omak. Again, I'll leave the links to these in the description section below. Be sure to check them out. That's NNDF doing all sorts of cool stuff over on the Colville Res. So if you're interested in fiber optic classes, be sure to contact the Terra office at 634-2716. They're looking for people interested in learning fiber optics. July 9th through the 12th on the Blackfeet Res, the 4-H Fair. Everyone's welcome. This will be Tuesday, July 9th. The 10th, 11th, and 12th. They have 4-H Fair, and this will be in Browning, Montana. So if you're interested, again, I'll leave the links in the description below. Moving right along on the Blackfeet Res, they're having a Blackfeet Legal series of workshops. So this one is a whole bunch of series. So the first ones were the Marshall Trilogy. Foundation of Federal Indian Law and Policy was June 17th and the 19th. Knowing Your Rights is the 24th and 26th. The ones that are upcoming are the Allotment Act of 1887. That'll be July 1st. The Indian Reorganization Act of 1934 is July 2nd. The Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968 is July 3rd. Grazing Resolution is July 16th. The Blackfeet Water Compact is July 22nd. And Contemporary Legal Issues is July 29th. Man, what a great series! If you want to brush up on your rights, you want to know what's relevant to the Blackfeet, you want to check that out. This is out at Blackfeet Community College. If you want to learn more, you can contact them, or you can click on the link. Again, it'll be in the comment section or the description section below. So moving right along, I got a whole list of it's the relay race schedule. June 29th and 30th, the Sioux Nation Challenge, Fort Pierre, South Dakota. And we got July 12th, North American Indian Days in Browning, Montana, July 26th and 27th. Eastern Shoshone Relay at Fort Washakie, Wyoming. August 4th is Phillip County Fair in Dodson, Montana. August 3rd and 4th is Oglala Run with the Warriors at Pine Ridge. August 10th and 11th is 110th Faith Stock Show and Rodeo at Faith, South Dakota. August 9th and 10th is the Weber County Fair in Ogden, Utah. August 16th through the 18th, Crow Fair at Crow Agency in Montana. August 24th through the 25th is the NCW District Fair in Waterville, Washington. September 8th, Okanagan County Fair in Omak, Washington. And September 13th to the 15th, Pendleton Roundup in Pendleton, Oregon, and September 20th to the 22nd, Championship of Champions in Walla Walla, Washington. These are all accredited races, and this is the 2019 Tour of Champions Indian Relay Races. So those are all coming up. What an exciting summer. We got all sorts of things coming along. Moving right along into the b-ball realm. So as you all know, this coming weekend in Spokane is Hoop Fest. Again, we'll be out there shooting all the native teams that are going to be cruising around downtown, playing a little b-ball. Going to go out and check it out. We got Spokane tribal member Robert Littman, and his team is going for the men's elite 6 feet and over championship. This will be a three-peat. I don't know that anybody's ever done a three-peat for the championships at Hoop Fest. But this will be their third year back-to-back. So if you're in the neighborhood and you want to check them out, be sure to cruise by and give them a hoop and holler. I know last year we had over 100 native teams registered for Hoop Fest, so it's going to be real exciting this year. And if you send me your Hoop Fest team name either in the comment section below or message me, I'll be sure to come by, maybe talk to you guys a little bit about how you're doing, check out some of your moves. Moving right along in the b-ball realm, we got 2019 3-on-3 summer schedule. We have the 9th annual Big Fort Battle in the Bay, July 6th at Big Fort High School. The 24th annual Ronan Pioneer Days 3-on-3, August 3rd at Ronan High School. If you want more information, again, check out the description section below, or you can go to missionvalley3on3.com, or you can find them on Facebook. Moving right along. More b-ball. Glacier Peaks Summer Jam 3-on-3, Saturday, August 3rd. 9 a.m. games start. Grades 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Boys and Girls Division. Museum of the Plains Indians parking lot. So, if you're in the area of Browning, be sure to check that out. And golf, we have the 2019 free Youth Golf Camp at Silver Fox Golf Course at Salish Kootenai College. July 15th, 16th, and 17th, we have 2 categories, ages 7 to 10. They'll be going from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. and ages 11 to 14, 1:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. You can call 675-PUTT. That's 675-7888. Or you can be sure to check out the link in the description section below. Build Tech Skills for Your Future 2019 Native Youth Tech Camp, July 8th through the 12th, Boys and Girls Club in Ronan. Be sure to check that out. We'll have creative design thinking, media design and editing, data analytics and cybersecurity, coding and new technologies, applications for social and environmental solutions, career and educational opportunities. Come join the fun. Register now. Again, be sure to check it out in the description section below. Moving right along, the powwows, 121st Arlee Celebration, 2019, July 2nd to the 7th at Arlee, Montana. They have a no contest drum. Register for contests online at arleepowwow.com. There's Camp Day on July 2nd. There's a memorial feed on the 3rd. On July 4th, they'll have a snake dance at 2 p.m. On July 5th, grand entry at 2 p.m. Contests in all categories. Break at 5:30. Second session starts at 7. Registration 11 p.m. Closes for dance and singing contests. There will be singing contests with cash prizes. Again, that's Arlee's 121st celebration. Arlee, Montana. Moving right along. Blackfeet Manpower One-Stop Center presents Veterans 4th of July Powwow, Wednesday, July 3rd and 4th at Chewing Black Bones Campground. $5 a car at the gate. BYOC, bring your own chairs. Over $24,000 in payouts. Huge fireworks display at the end of the day. Largest one-day event of the summer. No drugs or alcohol. Family-friendly public event. Moving right along, North America Indian Days. This is July 11th to the 14th. Again on the Blackfeet Res. July 11th to the 14th. It is in Browning, Montana. They have first place drum contest. $15,000. Holy cow. $15,000. Second place is $12,000. Third place is $8,000. Fourth place is $4,000. And a hand game $20,000 payout. Holy cow, there's big bucks at the Blackfeet Nation. North American Indian Days, July 11th through the 14th is 168th annual. Be sure to check that one out. And last but very not least, Elmo's coming up. 46th annual Elmo Standing Arrow Powwow, July 19th to the 21st. Host drums, Chief Cliff. War Dance Chief is Wilbert Buckskin. Arena Director, A.J. McDonald. There's a dance contest, $30,000. $30,000 plus total dance payout. Drum contest is $10,000. $4,000 for first, $3,000 for second. Third place is $2,000 and $1,000 for fourth. There's a Golden Age men's and women's Miss Kootenai and Little Kootenai Warrior. There will also be a co-ed softball tournament. So be sure to check that out. Again, on the Flathead Res for Elmo. So that's our powwow announcements. You know, moving right along, I just want to say this last year's salmon ceremony was something else to see. If you haven't been out there, it was so exciting. It was a great opportunity for everybody. You know, for a lot of people in Indian country, in my experience, that grew up off the reservation, they're so disconnected from their culture. It's events like this that allow everybody to come together. They had kids, they had elders out on the canoes. It was one of the neatest things. They had I think the youngest one out there was maybe a year and a half old out there canoeing around. And we had some of the elders out there. We had some elders come down from British Columbia that were singing. We had tribes from all through Upper Columbia out there doing it. It just people from everywhere. It was really a fun event. You know, they gave out these wonderful T-shirts to everybody. That was really neat. And then I was fortunate enough to find one of these necklaces that they strung up that they rolled up in the T-shirts. So kind of a bonus event. They had some deer meat they were serving out there, along with a nice salmon lunch. They had 50 sturgeon that they gave out to be released into the Columbia right there. Live little baby sturgeons. They had kids out there doing that. Man, that was great. It's something else to see those guys come in. You know, they spend the whole week out there. They dropped in this year at just above Grand Coulee, and they made it all the way up to Kettle Falls. We had people coming down from British Columbia First Nations. just a great time. The weather couldn't have been better. Pulling all it's neat to see them, when they come in like that, and then everybody gets together and pulls those big canoes out of the water. Really a feeling of solidarity. Another great day to be Indigenous. It's events like this that really keep me going. And I think for you, it's a great opportunity to get out. And if you're not familiar with the tribes in this area, if you're not familiar with the culture, get out there. Everybody's always welcome. They're always asking people to get in the canoes and check them out. I know Sean Brigman was out there, had some of his sturgeon nose canoes, and he's happy to talk to you about them and talk to you about the history. A great canoe builder. There's several great canoe builders out there. There was some great dugout canoes that were built. That all the big canoes were all dugouts. There's also a big fiberglass one that they had that was special for the kids. Not quite as tipsy. So it was great to get them out there. Great to see everybody. Good food, good times, good songs. We were just honored. We had some great music. Some of the British Columbia elders were up there singing on the big drum and was able to capture some of that. So be sure to check that out. Once again, if you haven't checked us out, I'd like to thank you for joining us. If you have been with us every time, thank you once again for joining us. This is our 9th episode. Our 10th one's coming up. There's so many more cool things to check out this season in our little section of Indian country in the inland Northwest. It's truly an honor to be here, yip-yapping about all this stuff. There's so many great dancers out there, great singers. We've got a lot of great artists that we'll be doing interviews with. In this episode, as I mentioned, I'll be featuring a interview that I did with Chad Yellowjohn. He's got some great work. He does doing his Native American twist on pop art. So pretty cool stuff. Be sure to check that out. There'll be links to Chad in the description section below. We'll also have a commentary, like I said, with Dr. Michel, and he's going to be updating us on the status of the movement to bring the salmon back to the Upper Columbia. Getting them beyond Chief Joe and getting them beyond Grand Coulee has been it's been quite the endeavor, and they're making strides. They've already moved past the first phase and moving into the second phase, and DR is going to talk to us a little bit about that, and we're going to get some commentary from Sadie Hill, Spokane tribal youth, give us some perspective of what it's like to be out on the water, what it means to her. It's really important for our youth to get out there and learn some of the culture, learn some of the things that may have skipped a generation. It's really an exciting time for our kids to be here in this country, and again, another great day to be Indigenous. So thank you once again for joining us. So enough said. Let's get to those highlights, and let's get to that interview with Chad Yellowjohn. All right. Thank you once again for joining us. You look great. You got your.
Oh, this is just every day.
Oh, you just look like they call it bougie native. Huh? Is that?
No, it was like right when I pulled in, like right before I pulled in, I was like, oh yeah, where's my vest? Where's my vest? And then I was like slowly driving up to your car. I was like, oh shit, okay.
All right.
Hey, how's it going?
I am here. Yeah, I think that. No, I think it's exciting time to be. For me, I think it's exciting time to be Indigenous. We've had so many really cool things. We are here with Inland Northwest Native News. We're here with Chad Yellowjohn. Chad is in town. Is an honor. He's been going to school down at Santa Fe, down at IAIA, and just refining some amazing skills that he's developed over the years. And I'm honored to have the opportunity to do this interview with you. I watch your work. I admire your work. I every time I get a chance, I like to see it, and I want to collect more. I have a piece down here that I was going to try to get you to sign. Maybe we'll get to that a little bit, but tell me a little bit about what you've been doing. What you're in town. What brings you in town?
Well, first thing, I can't thank you for having me.
Oh yeah.
And it's always nice to have people invite me into their homes and show me all this amazing artwork. What brought me in was my nephew's graduation, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Now cool. I feel old, like Uncle old. It's almost funny, but I'm also like, oh,
yeah,
getting there. I just wanted to visit family for some time. I haven't seen them since Christmas. I haven't seen my mom since Christmas. I just graduated with my cinematic arts degree and my studio arts minor.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so excellent. It was pretty nice. I got to get hands-on with like sculpture. I got to weld. I got to, do plaster, do some wiring, and it was a pretty fun semester. I got to figure out my other abilities with art, such as statues, and so.
Yeah. So you said cinematic arts degree.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What's entailed with that?
Cinematic arts degree. We got the opportunity to direct our own movies, take cinematic art classes, such as watch old movies and how they were able to capture a person's emotions. And I've learned that when we go to movies, we go there to not just escape the real world, but to also to feel an emotion. Like we feel to get inspired or scared, or we get there to feel sad, or we want to feel in love, And but yeah, no, I got to make probably three films. One got into the Santa Fe Film Festival, and that was called Batter Up, and that was one of my we did. It was we had to do a film in my directing class in 3 hours, and I made a zombie film, and it's about two brothers who are forced to say goodbye in a zombie apocalyptic world. And so one was bitten. The older brother was bitten, and zombies are trying to get into this cabin that the two brothers are trapped in, and the older brother struggles by trying to talk the brother up, to face this world alone, or if he doesn't, he can either stay in the cabin and feed on his own brother, or stay in the cabin and leave his brother to know that he's gonna be all right to chase off the zombies.
Huh. Wow, that's quite the plot.
Yeah.
Right. They had fun making it?
Yeah, no, I had lots of fun, the zombies, and I got to take a picture that made me look like the Thriller album.
Oh. That's cool. There's a lot to it. When you get down to try to appreciate what happens in the theaters, it's a lot harder than it looks. And it can take a lot of time. I know that. I kind of think that there's a real good movement now. We have a lot of opportunity in Indian country to start producing films. The cost of production's come down quite a bit. The technology has allowed us to do higher resolution, higher quality imagery. I've seen a lot of different indigenous films that were made by Indian people, and some of those films I have seen are just as good as anything I've ever seen, and it's really amazing. It's inspiring to be able to see that, and I think that IA offering that is really, really cool.
The reason why I like being in Santa Fe is because it's very hard to be a independent artist up here, because I feel like my art has been more valued down there, and a lot of people can relate to it. And it's actually a lot of where my art actually came from was being down south and being on my own and able to see the world from a different view. Such as I never considered myself being a political artist, and some of the art, probably 3 pieces I've done, 4 pieces I've done, had a base around Standing Rock and response to Trump. And I haven't had a booth up here for quite a while, so it'll be pretty nice, and be able to introduce to everybody the new Chad.
New Chad.
Yeah, the new Chad. Okay, new mediums and some new art, so it'll be pretty fun. It's kind of my comeback in the 509.
Yeah, yeah. So are you moving back here?
Yeah, I don't really have any plans to move back, because I've noticed that my motivation as an artist strives when I'm away from home. Because I'll be at my brother's, and I'll have my motivation has gone. I don't know. I just feel like being away from home motivates me to do better for myself. Because I see myself getting lazy here, and which is bad. And I think that's why I need to be away from home, because,
just getting out. I know, I hear you, man. I left when I was 22, 23 years old. I left Spokane, and I was gone for a long time. Yeah, and I was motivated the whole time, man.
Okay.
I totally hear you, man. I know exactly what you're talking about. So, you brought some work, and I really, that was what I wanted to talk about. But before we get into that, you had already mentioned this piece I got from you. This was gifted to me. And I want to see if we can talk a little bit about this one. I'm hoping we can do it without too much glare, but walk me a little bit through about, what you got going on here.
Okay, so what inspired me to do this piece was I was stressing out about, the tweets or like the stuff that Donald Trump has said to about women in general, and also the disrespect that he displayed on national TV to our Navajo Go Talkers. And so my mom has expressed to me when I'm feeling a certain way, I'll express it, but I won't express it through words all the time, but I'll express it through my art. And so this was not a threat, it was simply a response. And so if you guys have not seen Childish Gambino, This Is America, watch it and you'll understand this piece. So this is Childish Gambino taking a break from assassinating, this line of bad people. And they're not necessarily bad people, but they're just like in their bad way. Like they've done some bad things, and this is the way they're going to pay for it. And this is our indigenous woman, and this was an old gold cigarette ad of a non-indigenous girl wearing a short skirt and just looking slutty. Sorry, and she's shooting a bow and arrow with a headdress on, and so she's kind of mimicking the same move that Childish Gambino did when he shot that guy in the head. He was doing an old African American ad. So that's what she's doing. And so each of the bags is a name or something that symbolizes of what that person did. So you have Conotuckarius, which is George Washington, the 38 Sioux that Abraham Lincoln hung, and sharp knife given to Andrew Jackson. And everybody's worst person today, my worst person, is ass, which is Donald Trump. Sorry for the language. And the pose that he's doing is a pose that he is a move that he was doing, making fun of that reporter that had special needs, and he did that gesture. So he's doing that. And if you guys will, if you guys buy the piece or if you guys look at the piece, you'll notice small things. You'll see, Abraham Lincoln, he peed his pants. That's pretty much it. And all these things are just basically kind of like hashtags. But yeah, this is my piece. And
when did you make this? What year was this? 14th?
June 14th. So I made this June 10th of last year.
I see.
So happy anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary. Cool.
But yeah, so there's another thing I wanted to say. So before I made this piece, I was thinking that maybe I should put the arrow not released. She's pulling it, but she hasn't actually shot it. And so I don't know, when being an artist surrounded by other artists, they say if what I was taught, and if you are hesitant, that means you should do it. It's kind of should I go talk to my family member that I haven't talked to for a while? If you think you shouldn't do it, you have to do it. And the bow and arrow was just a very last minute through the head.
Wow. A reason I asked, there's been a really big, strong movement with missing and murdered Indigenous women now, and this is kind of a pretty bold statement. I saw this, I was just wow, because I had seen a bunch of your work. I had that piece you did with based on the water protectors from Standing Rock and the Star Wars theme.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. I have one of those already. But I saw this and I was just wow, that's just pretty bold. But it was a gift, and I was real happy to receive it. So definitely gonna have to try to get you to sign that later. Let's talk a little bit about what else you brought us.
Okay, so this piece is the very first piece I did in this type of style. And so I was drawing real people. I wasn't having fun with it, and I was drawing cartoons. When I went to one, one style, it kind of got boring, and so I was you know what, I'm just gonna combine both and see how that looks. And This is what I came up with, and there's plenty more styles like this, but I was really.
Was that modeled after someone? Was there?
Yeah, it was actually me. Yeah, so
that's just a self-portrait.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I actually was like doing a lot of. I was doing a lot more self-portraits, and I was kind of feeling like conceited, and so I did that. I took a selfie of me war hooping, and one thing I love doing, out in public, is I like to war hoop.
Oh,
I like to go out. And one of my plans is I want to go to the Great Wall of China and war hoop, and and this is called Our Call, and I just wanted to like strike it, like he's not getting mad, he's not at a game, he's just, it's just an indigenous war call that we do, yeah.
Cool.
And then in that same style, I did these two pieces. This is called The Singer, and this is called Musically Living.
Here.
Yeah.
One of those.
And this one, Musically Living right here, this is based on one of my friends. Her name is Olivia Komachi. She goes by Live the Artist. And she had braces on at that time, and she had her shirt and everything else, So she sent me a picture, and then... And I like to over-exaggerate the mouth. And one of the things I don't want to over-exaggerate is the nose, because, like Native Americans, like they get teased for their noses. And so that's one thing I try to avoid. And so this is her guitar that she plays. And the musical notes are supposed to be that one song called Hallelujah. And it was supposed to be a song that she made for her friend. And so there's that one, and this one is The Singer. So this one, it was really hard to like get the mouth to like be the way I wanted it to be. So to make things easier, and for a little tip for you guys that want to draw home, is use a Snapchat filter if nothing comes up. So this is a Snapchat filter. When you open your mouth, it gets bigger.
Oh.
And so I was like, all right, I'll do that. And so
I love it. I love it. It's awesome. It's great. I love how big his hands are, in scale. It makes you wonder how big the drum is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I really like that. A lot of passion in there. A lot of intense, I like the straight hairs. That's really cool. I have to ask you, when you draw these, are they this size? Are they larger? Are they smaller?
They're about 24 by 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're pretty close to this size.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's see what else you got.
Okay, and I don't have any pictures of the one. Okay, so this one's called Corbin. This is the last one I did in 2018, and this was the first time being a Yellowjohn that this is the first piece I did as a Yellowjohn, and the character is supposed to be a character I drew for the Museum of Contemporary Native Arts, and it was of him braiding his own hair, and this is supposed to be my dog Corbin. And the reason why I chose my dog Corbin is because dogs in our lives mean a lot to us. And I used to have this dream of this shadow constantly chasing me. And then one dream, this shadow got afraid of a bark, and then it ran off, and it happened to be my dog. And he passed away like 2 years prior to this dream. And then he just gave me a hug, and I woke up crying, and I was like, I gotta draw my dog. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I have never drawn like a dog actually for a while, and so I couldn't think of a better dog. And it was funny because my neighbors actually came into our house, and they have a dog that looks just like looks like this one, and so they gave me this weird look like, "Are you obsessed with our dog?" I was like, "No, this is my dog." And they're like, okay.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like, again, a lot of emotion, a lot of expression. You can see the bond between them. There's movement. It's well balanced. There's just a lot of, the colors are great, good contrast. Just a lot of wonderful things. There are things that are really emerging as your own style, the way you combine things and the way you exaggerate things, and I just love it. It's very creative, very creative. So a lot of people would consider this style of art as pop art. What do you think about that?
I like it. I mean, that's the type of the things that I like. I love pop art ever since I started growing up. And there's this one guy named Justin Bois. I think that's how you say his name. But I was always into his artwork, especially like the way he over exaggerates certain features and gives animation. Like he gives movement with his arms. Like if this guy's playing basketball, like he'll have this arm like extended like a few more inches, just giving it movement. So I was always into that. And that's what inspired me to do stuff like this. And being considered pop art is actually it's a good feeling.
Cool, very cool. You talked a little bit about your motivation, your inspiration. Where did you get your inspiration from? Your work it's evolved. I've seen it evolve, and I can you talked a little bit about the exaggeration, that kind of thing. But where does the majority of your inspiration come from?
People. I mean, just people living life and people enjoying their times, and also the movement that, the people that I've surrounded myself with, and just seeing like other art, so I was at IA back in 2009 and then came back 2010, and I was like, and I thought like, being at IA was enough, so I was like, all right, well, I did that, so now what? And so took some few years away from IA, and I remember I was on the couch. I had a Zips bag by me, and I woke up, and I was just like, I gotta go do something. And so I was like, I gotta, because I was looking at Crystal Worrell's work, and I used to go to school with her, and she was like doing like apparel stuff and doing paintings that was actually bought by Joe Biden, and also like like Natani Means, like he's rapping and making motivation through his raps. And so I was just thinking like that's got to be me, and I mean I want to do something like that. I want to be I want to be an inspiration. And so just seeing other artists work and doing their things that they feel they need to do to make an impact in Native lives is creating. And so yeah, that's what inspires me. And also my family inspires me a lot, and my friends inspire me a lot. And like I draw pieces of my family.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is great. Talk a little bit about this one.
Okay, so this is my mom. The regalia is supposed to be based off of her regalia, and the color scheme, and the flute player she likes flutes, and I haven't drawn my mom for a while, and so I figured that this is a way to not really repay, because you can never repay the love that your mom or dad gives you. And so this is why I call her mom. And there's this Tyler the Creator album of this bee being in front of this person's face, and I think nature and mixing it with our culture is very powerful. So she likes butterflies, and I always like to incorporate animals or bugs. And
can I see that one? That one's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
You have just a great way of capturing. I mean, just the fact, look at the expression on her face is awesome, and her having her eyes closed and one ear on and one ear off, that's just really cool. Listening to the birds and listening to her headphones at the same time. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. So what we talked a little bit about you getting old. Hey, no,
I was like, no. I do have some gray hairs.
No, well, you talked a little bit about getting older. Coming from the graduation, that kind of thing. How old are you now?
I am 28.
Oh, geez, you're up there, man.
Your eyes got big.
Oh, God. Well, that's not all. I'm 48. So there's you got a good 20 years in you before you start worrying about that. So let me ask you this, though. As a young Indian man, as an artist, as an American, as a Native American, what worries you? What worries you now?
I think what worries me is what is our youth going to be left with? When our elders leave. I just wonder if our elders are worried about what did they leave for us, and what teachings did they leave us, and was our youth able to pick up on that? Were they, traditional enough to pick up on, the cultures or their ways, and I don't know. I just that's what worries me is I want to make sure that I leave something in this world, and especially I don't know. There has been a lot of death lately, and when death comes around, I start to worry, that I'm not old, but anybody's day can come, and so I want to try to leave this world that with art, with something that speaks to people, with somebody that can relate, because a lot of artists they can't speak. I can't speak politically. The only way I can speak politically is if I do it through art, and that's what a lot of artists do. Especially I see a lot of people that they don't really talk much, but when they create art, it's pretty awesome. Just because they can speak with it, and you can tell how they're feeling, and how a lot of people can just relate to that person. And so that's why I want to leave this world with something for the youth to look up to. I want to when I'm creating pieces, I want to strike happiness with our Native people. I want to create something that they have never seen. Obviously every piece is something that no one's ever seen, but something that that is fun for them to look at, because you don't see when Star Wars came out and the artists came up with a native Jedi, a lot of Native Americans want to see that type of stuff, and they want to feel wow, that's so much fun, that motivates me, or a Native superhero, and just I don't know. I just want to create. I just what motivates me is just keeps me motivated is knowing that I have this ability that a lot of people wish they had, and I try to keep up with the person in a different dimension, and let's say a person wasn't able to draw, but what would he do with the abilities that I have, and I'm trying to keep up with that person. If that makes any sense. We only live one life, and tomorrow my arm may get cut off, and what am I gonna do? This is my special hand, that I don't want to ever get rid of, and but what motivates me also is my grandma and my uncle. My uncle was an artist, but he was handicapped, and he was paralyzed from the shoulders down, and he couldn't draw with his hands, but he drew with his mouth. And seeing the stuff that he creates, I know that he would do a lot more with my abilities. And also my grandma, she was always asking about how I've been, and asking how what other pieces I've been working on. And my mom motivates me a lot too, because she has done a lot for me to not become something. And so that's why I need to that's a person that I really look out for, is to make sure that she's getting everything that is deserved to her. And so with my abilities, I'm able to become something so that she feels like her hard work has finally paid off.
What would you like people to know about Chad? What about Chad Yellowjohn?
What I would like people to know about me is I'm an outgoing guy. I try to be, at least. And I always welcome people to come and talk to me about my art, or, you know, if they want tips and tricks, I can also teach tips and tricks. And being an artist, you know, I've noticed that the smallest, this is like a little catchphrase I have on my business cards also, it's the smallest detail can make the biggest difference. And, you know, those are the small details in life, and that can make a big change.
That they can.
Yeah.
So we kind of have a specialized audience that watches this. What would you like to say to this audience? The audience at Inland Northwest Native News, what would you like to say to them?
One thing I would like to say to everybody is, if you don't fight today, tomorrow will win.
Wow. Yeah. Strong words. Very strong.
Inland Northwest Native News. Click and subscribe.
Right. That's what we're looking for. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
You know, it's a very happy and good experience. Limlin. I have to figure out how to crop Charlie in.
I don't want to look at that rock. You cut, like, I'm too busy. I don't want to touch it. I don't want anything to do with it. And with his urging, I ended up touching it, helping organize, being a part of it, and now I think it's a part of me. Well, I think that it doesn't hit you. You know, it's something about, you might think you know who you are, you might think you understand about yourself, but once you really step into these traditional vessels, we also have sturgeon nose canoes, and you paddle them, you feel a whole different connection, and I can't quite explain what that is, but I can tell you it's powerful and unexpected for me.
Paddle pretty confidently in these ones. Get up there during the Nate.
How long are these?
About 25, 30 feet.
Are they?
Yeah.
These are the ones that are the ones from a couple years back, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It just feels really good to be out on the river, and it's just the best feeling ever to be out there, and then just all the family that you make along the way.
Yeah. How many paddles have you been on?
I think this is about the fourth one that I've paddled in, just a day or two here and there, you know. This will be the most amount of days I've gotten to. I think I'll get to paddle for about 6 days, hopefully.
What does it mean for you? What does it mean?
Just reclaiming our waterways and our salmon, and just going back to how we used to do it, and just connecting to our past and our future, and just going back to our old ways.
For a lot of people I've talked to, it's been a real healing experience.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it's good for your heart. It feels really good to be out there.
What's been the most surprising thing that's happened to you on the water?
I've never tipped or anything. Let's see. It was pretty cool the first year that I went, that the one Annette organized. There was bald eagles following the canoe the whole way. It was just really awesome. They were just flying around, following the canoes the whole journey.
There's actually the toilet downstairs.
it sounds just like a jailbreak.
Mark Gauthier and Stevie Seymour.
So the anchor out.
A lot of the other travel members really just picked it up and stepped in and just took care of everything anyway. So. Everything's looking really good and pretty excited because, yeah, I mean, this first days are going to be basically our longest and hardest day. But
how far are you going? You going all the way?
It's about 15, 16 miles to Keller Ferry. Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, this is the largest part of the lake, and if the wind wasn't on our side, you know, like if it was going against us, there'd be no way we would be able to make it in like 5 or 7 hours. But with the wind on our side or with no wind, then we could make it in about 5 to 7 hours. So.
Cool. You guys probably, as far as I know, have gone the furthest in your canoe. As far as like...
We did, with the Piengkham canoe, we did a trip from Three Forks, Montana, the headwaters of Missouri, all the way to Standing Rock, or the Cannonball River.
Yeah.
And we went up the Cannonball River, and it was December 1st or 2nd.
Yeah.
So it was like a 10, 11-day trip or something like that, and in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
And it was our longest. It was, last I checked, it was like somewhere around 250 miles.
Wow. What was that like?
The beginning it was pretty swift and pretty easy going, and the sun was still out, and scenery was a lot like this, really nice, and the water was swift, so it was really easy. Mm-hmm. And then after it got to like close to a dam, then it basically turned into lake water in like a day. And we had one day that was like 30 miles, and it was probably the hardest day I've ever paddled. Paddled from early morning to dark, and that was a rough one.
How cold was it?
I mean, it got to freezing at night, a little bit below, but towards the end of the trip is where it got really cold. On the very last day, the water froze over to about an inch, and we were literally breaking the ice with our canoes. And the 2 canoes still got scars from it, so I mean, it was a rough day.
Yeah, man. I just, well, for me, I really kind of wanted to talk to you about this. I went down. I was there December 5th.
I remember seeing you down there.
And I saw the pictures of you guys breaking through the ice and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing I could think is you guys are crazy.
Yeah. Well, the only way we could have made it in was my brother was already there at camp, and I had messaged him ahead of time somehow. I don't remember how, but we got the message to him, and he took a trench shovel and a kayak and was paddling with that, and broke an entryway into the dock into Standing Rock for us all. So we managed to paddle our canoes right in.
So how long were you on the water before you guys got there?
Like I said, like 10, 11 days. Something like
but the area is so isolated, man. If you guys had gone over there, then anybody could have got to you.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty weird and crazy, but we had good support. We didn't have the best equipment, but we had good equipment, and we had, I think, the best team for it, though. So that's what really made me feel safe. Is we all knew what we were doing. We all trusted each other, and that's really what's important when you're out.
Well, for me, I'm watching this thing, start from when the logs rolled off the trucks, Derek went out and shot a bunch of that, and then all these people come together that haven't really had reasons to unite. But the one thing that I've heard consistently over and over from pretty much everybody I talk to about all the canoes and the journeys and everything is that it's been really healing.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is, because I mean, it goes way back to we're separated on reservations, so that separated our people, and then instead of a system of a village, you got houses that separates people. The dams on the rivers separates people more, and so we're all separated more and more and more, even by water. But then now we're changing our ways, I think, and that's a big change from being separated by water to being united by water. It's a really big difference.
How much do you think you've grown over the last 4 years?
Quite a bit. I mean, every month I hear about someone making a new canoe, and I mean, there's some surprise canoes yesterday I saw, so I mean, people are making canoes and just not telling people either. So, I mean, I've been seeing some on Facebook, different tribes are making all sorts of awesome canoes. And I don't know, I'm just excited to see all of them. Really.
Do you ever think that, you know, growing up, that you'd ever be doing anything like this?
No. Actually, I'd bought a canoe before all the canoe stuff started, a fiberglass canoe. I bought it like a month before the first salmon ceremony, and I never thought I'd be canoeing, to be honest. But I ended up being in on it and just helping organize, and then being an organizer. Well, my uncle was a skipper, so I was, you know, helping paddle since I was around. And yeah, I know I never even got to use my own fiberglass canoe. I took it out once or twice, like a year or two later, and then that winter it got smashed by a snowplow. So now just been on dugouts the whole time. But yeah, I've never, other than this stuff, I've never ever been on a canoe, and I'm just learning.
How old are you now?
Learn how to swim. 31, pretty sure.
So there's a million things you could be doing.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of other Native guys out there that are doing a lot of other things other than what you're doing. But it takes time to do this. Preparation, you know, the traveling, all of the different things that it takes to keep this going. What motivates you the most to keep going?
Well, it's like I said, it's a healing sort of thing, but also being separated from people is not good for people. People naturally want to be around each other. People are naturally social. I mean, there wouldn't be much to life if you're the only human on Earth, right? So I mean, it's important to be around people, and so if water brings people together, then it's got to be one of the most important things to be doing. I mean, not much other things really bring people together like this.
What's been the scariest thing for you?
Well, just other than car accidents, I think boating accidents are ranked up pretty high there. So I mean, it's weather's always dangerous, and I'm always worried about everyone. And you know, the more people we have, just the more likely there's someone in bad health is going to need help, and just, you know, keeping my eye out for people who might need help and try and prepare ahead of time so we don't really have to worry or stress about that sort of thing.
Cool. Very cool. Is there anything you think we might have missed or something you'd like to add?
I'm just really happy that we're all here, and I'm surprised we made it.
Yeah.
Because I was having a rough time, and like I said, I kind of dropped off a few months before the finishing of the planning of this, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go because I lost contact with everyone and everything. But you know, seeing everyone come together really is uplifting, and it makes me happy to know that it looks like we're going to be continuing to do this for many years to come.
Yeah.
Hopefully I have kids and they get to come do this too. That's what we're all looking forward to, right?
That's cool.
We can get paddlers to just circle up here for a real quick meeting. I don't have a super loud voice. We'll end up coming back down here after those words, and we'll board onto our canoes. And then there'll be a prayer that said, I think Darnell's going to say that prayer down here. And then we'll launch out, you know, relatively together. But I just wanted people to know that we're going to be hovering right here and giving everybody a chance to board safely and in some kind of orderly manner. I don't know what that is yet, but we'll work it out as we go. But I think we can start making our way then up to the shade. And then we're going to be going over, and they're preparing lunch for us at Spring Canyon. So at least we have a goal of food at the end of that. Or Not even halfway through. At least we got food coming, and then we'll have snacks or whatever. All right, so I guess we can start making our way over.
And really quick, too, for all the canoers, I have the permits, so each canoe needs one of these permits just folded up in a pocket for the journey.
Really? Paper? Really?
Wait a minute. Push him down. Tackle him. Yeah. Over there. I should have switched out earlier.
Right.
This time it came from the lower Arrow Lakes back to Kettle Falls. This was carved by the INWNN School. And where's John Zinzer? Our hero. I can't believe he's not packing one of these. There were about 60 youth that worked on this.
To the right, to the right.
These ones over there. Right, go down.
Sorry, guys. Somebody's under the canoe. Here, watch out.
Watch your toes.
There you go.
Indigenous women in raising that awareness.
Hey, cousin.
Canoe that's coming up. This is the Spokane Tribes Canoe. Is the skipper, Devin Pion. Annette had a huge hand. Annette Pion had a huge hand in the carving.
We got a room right here. There's a room right here. Watch your step. Center it, out of the middle.
Blocks coming
Out of the middle.
Watch the blocks. Watch the bird. Watch the blocks.
Shake.
Down.
Down.
Come up. Down. Bump up. Yep, all the way. Catch him.
All the way up there and center them. See, at the end? No. Hey, watch the block.
Blocked. Hi, 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 hi. Down. Touch it.
Down.
Oh,
This gets harder and harder every year.
Quit looking so happy.
Spank it.
So, on behalf of the sweetgrass lady from Daisy, she wanted to make sure that everybody got a chunk of sweetgrass. This is homemade. So, I'd like to honor each captain with a chunk of this sweetgrass.
He wants to honor all of these skippers with sweetgrass today.
Prayers and grace.
Thank you, dear.
Skippers, bless them, hold them close. Bless their life, this work, standing tall with these canoes.
Oh, today we're here to celebrate the salmon and the canoes and that reconnection to the river. We've got 6 canoes out in the water today. All of our tribes are represented, and it's a very important part of the process in bringing attention to the issues here in the Upper Columbia, the loss of the salmon and the loss of that tie to the river. And this ceremony helps us reconnect with those things that were taken and brings attention to the work ahead of us that needs to be done to correct those historic wrongs. So it's a very important for us to be on the river as salmon people, as river people, to make those connections. So it's very important for all of us today. So the Upper Columbia United Tribes has worked on, we call it Phase 1. We're working on a phased approach to bringing the salmon home. Phase 1 puts all those technologies together, the risk assessments, the donor stocks, habitat studies. We've run life cycle models that estimate numbers of fish coming back. So that report, in our opinion, shows the feasibility of bringing salmon back. So the next phase would be to actually start to turn some fish loose above those facilities, track them, and put in some interim fish passage facilities and start to see where the fish go and how they utilize the system that that part of the water that they've been blocked for nearly 80 years. So that phase 2 will allow us to start to see what the fish need. And I don't really think we need a lot of studying of the fish, so to speak. I think they're just looking for an opportunity, and we provide them that opportunity. They're going to know where to go, and they're going to know what to do. So we think we've came a long ways in the last few years in connecting those issues, and again, it's feasible. We're there. We're ready to start turning some fish loose.
What kind of timeline are you talking about?
Well, to turn some fish loose here, hopefully this August. I mean, it's going to take a long time. It's, we're 20, 25 years out from actually having full restoration or full passage. So it's going to be a long process, but we feel with these opportunities we've been provided with, the Columbia River Treaty and the Northwest Power and Planning Conservation Council adopting that into their 2014 program has allowed us to do some of these studies. So we're real close.
So I know that right now we're having a big problem with the whale population starving from the lack of salmon, lack of food for them. Well, can you talk a little bit about that, or what is Upper Columbia? What part are they playing in all of that?
So that's that whole ecosystem. That's one river, and what we do up here, has impacts on what happens down in the estuary and the orcas. So to make that connection, to be able to save the whale or to make this a functioning river again, we need that reconnection. We need those salmon getting back up into these Canadian waters to increase those numbers to help that orca population. And again, it's bigger than just the orca, it's the entire ecosystem. It's what we did to it with the blockage of the river, cutting off the salmon and those habitats up into Canada. We've drastically impacted their ability to spawn and to reproduce and to provide that food for the orcas in the lower river. It's all connected, and we need to start to manage and look at it that way. It's one river.
So I know some people are kind of skeptic about bringing the salmon back just because the mass deforestation, the overgrazing and the runoff, and the habitat's just not the same. Without having the old growth cedars to nourish or to get the nutrients from the salmon, and without being able to shade the water, it's raised the water temperatures. I mean, you have all sorts of factors: dissolved oxygen, you have pesticides, you got all these different things. So what's UCUT's position as far as being able to successfully maintain or reestablish a usable, feasible habitat for the salmon once they get back? I mean, what's the likelihood? I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
So we've done a habitat study in our phase 1, and it shows there's sufficient habitat for the salmon. And I don't know the numbers right offhand, but we found, and this is just in the U.S. portion of the river, that there's plenty of habitat for fish right now for the salmon, and all of those other issues are impacts, but they're not going to, or they shouldn't have that big a negative impact on the returning salmon. I mean, we need to continue to deal with those water quality issues, the pollution. We just won our case against Tech Metals. So they've been found liable for the pollution and that legacy of nearly 100 years of dumping slag directly into the river. So they've been found liable for that, and so we're going to continue to work on those issues. But that shouldn't stop us, or that shouldn't be an excuse or a reason not to bring the salmon home. The salmon are in these waters for a short period of time. Those things impact them, but they shouldn't negatively impact them enough to where that should be an excuse not to do it. Them being part of the ecosystem will help clean that up. Will help replenish the forests. Will help bring back some of those things. The eagles, the bears, all of those things are connected. So without that salmon being part of that cycle, we have seen that the forests impacted and the aquaculture, the waters not having that salmon in the water after they spawn and die. All those nutrients and things are all part of what we're trying to reconnect. And again, it's feasible. It can happen. Those are all excuses not to do it, and we see those as things that we need to take care of, and the salmon are a big step in helping that reconnection.
Excellent. So you talked to, congratulations on that tech case.
No, that was a long battle, and that was one of those things again where when we started this case, a lot of people said, yeah, it's never going to happen. You're never going to hold that company liable for what they've done, and the tribes continuing to push that issue and to be out front on these issues is why that happened. And what we do as tribal people, as Upper Columbia United Tribes, don't just impact or benefit the tribes, they benefit everybody in the region. So it's our responsibility, and we take that responsibility very seriously. And with that responsibility comes those future generations, and why we do what we do. We're doing it for that 7 generations, those folks that we haven't met yet, our kids, our grandkids, their grandkids. This is who we're working for, and those are who we're trying to correct these historic wrongs for, is our future generations.
Cool. So when you talk about settling that case with Tech, that was a long time in the making. It was a long time in the damage that they did went on for so long. It's just crazy to think about. I just can't even wrap my brain about the amount of the sludge and all that has been dumped into the river, and how far downstream. I mean, just to try to even fathom that's beyond me. But I guess my question is, what do you think is going to come of that? Is that going to end up in a cash settlement? Is it going to be another EPA Superfund cleanup site that never gets cleaned up? Or what do you think is going to happen with that? I mean, well, let me ask you this. How about 2 parts? What do you think is going to happen, and what would you like to see?
Well, I think, of course, we're going to continue to battle with them about what needs to be done and how much needs to be cleaned up. But what we'd like to see is those, and the river, again, we don't need a lot more studies about what's out there. The river is going to show us, and in these eddies and in these backwaters where that slag is settled out, they can hotspot clean up. Marcus Flats right here where we're at today, this whole flat, a lot of that slag settles out here because the water slows just before the falls. So a lot of that metal is from Kettle Falls back up towards the Canadian border. So what we'd like to see is those hot spots evaluated, cleaned up, and to just better understand the human health impacts, the ecological impacts of that slag, the drawdowns, the dust storms, and those potential human health impacts is what we'd like to see some of those questions answered, because right now there's a lot of unknowns, and unfortunately there's a lot of tribal members who fear those unknowns and are afraid to use the river. They're afraid to be on what give us life. I mean, the river is life. It's who we are as river people, and with those pollution legacy issues, there are tribal folks who are afraid to be on the river, to eat the fish, and to even practice their ceremonies and stuff on the river. So we'd like to get those questions answered, and again, provide those opportunities that were taken from us.
What do you think it's going to take on the federal government's part to get this done?
Well, we're going to need EPA to step up and push the issues and direct that cleanup and ensure that those natural resource damage assessments are completed and that the cleanup is done. Again, they've stipulated, they own it now. They're responsible for what they've done, and it's going to be up to the EPA and the federal government to ensure that those things are completed.
Do you guys have any other concerns? You know, this current administration opened up waterways for mining waste dumping again. Do you have any immediate concerns for this area?
Well, just in general, the deregulating, making it easier for polluters to pollute, easier for these big corporations to negatively impact our ecosystems and then walk away. So we've got big concerns just overall in the sense that we can continue to exploit these resources for the benefit of a few, while the rest of us who live in the region are impacted on a daily basis by those decisions. So it's going to take a grassroots push. It's going to take us to remind these folks that they work for us. We don't work for them, and we need to set those priorities, and they need to listen. It's time. We cannot continue to exploit our resources at the current rate we are and expect anything for our future generations. I'm afraid one day we'll be looking at a lot of these things in a book. They won't even be here. They'll be extinct. They'll be gone.
So shortly after they reopened the waterways for mining waste, Bunker Hill announced that it was going to reopen. Any word on that?
No, I don't have any background. Again, it just makes them easy. It just makes it easier for them to bypass regulations and to pollute. They put profit over. They continue to put profits over the environment and continue to believe that it's always going to be here, and it's not. This whole climate change and they're seeing climate change as a benefit. They're looking at the glaciers melting and some of these areas that have been capped for thousands of years are opening up, and they see those as opportunities to go into those areas and mine now. Those things that were covered for thousands of years with those glaciers and those ice caps now are melting, and they're looking at opportunities to move into those areas and mine. So it's just asinine to think that we can, again, as a people, continue to exploit those resources and not have negative impacts. Mother Earth, I think, is giving us a lot of warning signs, a lot of opportunities to make these changes, and with all of this, weather and floods, and she's trying to cool off. She's trying to let us know that these floodplains and all these areas where these people have built, too many times we look at a river as a river and a floodplain as a floodplain. If you're standing in the floodplain, you're standing in the river, and eventually you're going to get wet. There's no way around it. You can dike it, you can put in dams, but eventually if you're standing in a floodplain, you're going to get wet because it is part of the river, and we need to make that connection also.
And people think of the children.
Get ready so quick. Take my picture.
He's gonna grab another one.
Mama! Okay, try it.
There you go. Hang on to it tight. Come on, Derek.
jumps.
I'm taking it apart, please.
Everyone must get a shirt, so if we could have them get in line.
What size now?
They have to be like.
Thank you.
The little one. Yeah, small.
Yeah.
Gather around. Everyone gather around.
So we have a lot of our elders couldn't make it down that recorded with us throughout this time, but we did want to honor Ukanitsa. He came down a lot, and he came and sat with our people a lot, and just visiting, so they could get conversational Salish. And so we're at the end of our 3-year period, our 3-year grant, and so we wanted to honor some of the people who worked really hard on it. So we got Ukanitsa, we had a jacket made up. The Inchalim Language House. And we wanted to give this to you. And thank you for always taking care of us. I just wanted to take a second to honor our learners. And so that's what we're doing. We each have them all made up a jacket themselves as well. And so we're going to just pass these out to everybody, and then we're just going to take a picture real quick.
We're here today at Kettle Falls for the salmon ceremony, and we've got one of the paddlers, Sadie Hill, with us. Sadie, is this your first year out paddling?
I did a day last year, but this is my first year for more than a day, yes.
All right, and so did you start out, or did you go in the middle, were you in the end, where were you?
We started Monday, so that was the middle, and I went with my brother and sister.
All right, and what do you think was the best part about the whole experience for you?
I think the best part was just like seeing all the nature, because we live in the city and we don't really get to get away from that very often. So just feeling the water and seeing the trees and feeling the sand, that was just the best part.
All right. So I was just curious, you where did you put in at for the first time?
We put in from where we started, me and my brother and sister, we started at Two Rivers.
And which canoe were you on?
Simpleach.
All right. Did you have a hand in building that canoe at all, or was that?
I helped a little bit, but it was mostly just my auntie and her family.
So, When was the first time you heard about this, the salmon ceremony and the paddle and all that?
The first year that they decided to do it, I heard about it because my mom's into like everything about our culture, and my auntie was part of building Simpleach, my auntie Net. So I heard about it right away, but I didn't get to help as much because we had to travel.
What was your first impression of the whole project?
I thought it was cool. My family's really into culture, and we've never really done canoes before this. So I thought it was interesting. It was a different view of our culture, because we've gone camas digging, or we've sewn baskets, or we've beaded. We've done a lot of things with our culture, but this was interesting.
So you're a dancer too?
Yes, I fancy dance mostly.
So I specifically wanted to kind of get your perspective on this whole thing, because a lot of it is geared around the next generation and your generation. There's a lot of kids out there that could and are doing other things. I mean, they're at the movies or at the mall, or they're out doing a million other things other than out paddling the Columbia. What makes you want to do that? What motivates you? What sets you apart from them?
I mean, I was raised to keep my culture going and learn more about it. So I think that this is just another thing that I was raised to do. It's an honor and it's a privilege, and I think that it's my generation's job to keep the culture going.
So, was there anything that you learned from this experience?
I learned so much. I think that the main thing that I learned is the closer that everyone on the canoe is, or everyone in the canoes are, the more fun that it is. The more things you learn, or the better experience you have, just how close we are.
What would you like other youth to know about this experience?
It's better than watching a TV, because then you could see it in real life. Because my generation, we're really into technology, and we don't really get out to go paddle. If we get out, then we go out to get a tan. And I think this is a good way to just step out of social media and step out of everything that we're supposed to look like or supposed to do. Because I didn't have my phone for a couple days, and it was nice. It was like a cleansing.
So you got some paint on your face.
I do.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
We did this across the river. It was to remember missing and indigenous women. And I know that the jockeys from the races did this too. So I think it inspired the paddlers and some of the staff to do it too.
Do you remember the first time you saw someone that was wearing paint like that?
No, I've been seeing stuff like this for a while, but I've never known what it meant.
What do you think about, they talked earlier about DR talked about the court case that the Colvilles won about the polluters for the Columbia River. Did you know about that?
I didn't know about the case, but when I heard that, I was like, yeah, because our waters were polluted a lot, especially with stuff from Midnight Mine, and I think that it's their job to clean it up. If I make a mess, then I have to clean it up, and they messed up our waters a ton, so they should on their own feel the responsibility to clean it up. But since they don't, I'm glad that we took action, and now they have to.
What other environmental stuff would you like to see done?
I would like to see less plastic from wherever we go, because we were paddling and we had to pick up a couple bags out of the water, and I was just I was disappointed. But I'm glad that we have the hearts to clean up. Even if we didn't make the mess, we still clean it up, because it's how we live.
What do you think about when you see all these elders and they come out here and they're singing in a language that if you're like me, you don't know a lot of the language. You see that, and then you see people from all these different tribes that come together that have so many differences, but then a lot of similarities too. You know, some of them have different cedar hats. They're different styles. They're woven tighter or looser. Some of them have ribbon skirts. Some of them are certain patterns. So there are these differences and similarities in the cultures. But when you step back and you look at the overall bigger picture, what's it really like being a Native youth in society today?
It's definitely different from how the kids at my school grow up, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because, yeah, there are different designs, different types, different ways to make something, but I think it's the feeling that everything brings overall. Because there's ribbon skirts all over, but it's the power that they have is what the bigger picture is, and that's what I really love about being Native youth. It's just feeling the power that we have. Even though it seems like we don't have a ton of power, we definitely can get our feelings across with what we have. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, kind of getting back to the paddle and the journey and all that, is there anybody that you've met along the way, whether it was your first year or this year, is there anybody that really inspired you?
Definitely Liz really inspired me because there was a time when we were just sitting on the beach and we just started talking and she told her story and I was talking a little bit about mine and we opened up to each other, which I thought was really nice. And it was empowering to see someone else go through a harder time than you and like make it so far. She went through a harder time than me, so why can't I get through whatever I'm going through?
If you look at all the indigenous leadership out there, men, women, whoever, who inspires you the most?
Probably, like out of everybody, probably my mom, because without her, then I wouldn't be here right now. Like, we wouldn't know all the culture, and we wouldn't know our ways, and I wouldn't know anything about our culture without my mom. And she's just a big part of the tribe and the community, and she'll help anybody. So I think my mom probably.
Anything else that you'd like to add? Just
that paddling on the canoe was a very empowering experience, and I hope that more people get to do it.
So we're kind of a new youth like the channel here, and
we're gonna shout you out.
Shout out. So I just want to ask what you think about the idea of covering news and events for inland Northwest tribes.
I think it's a great idea because no one else is going to do it, so we have to get the word out and we have to make sure that people know that we're here and we're doing things like this to bring it back.
Yeah. So by saying that, you're kind of implying that people don't think we're here and think that we're not doing anything. Do you kind of feel that way sometimes?
A couple months ago, I was talking to a little girl and she asked where I was from. So I told her that I was a Spokane tribal member. She asked what that meant, and I told her I was Native American. She said she thought Indians were extinct. So yes, I do believe that people don't know that we're here and that we're actually doing things with our culture.
So if you talked about getting getting the word out and telling our stories, what story would you tell?
I would just tell like our struggles and how far we've come from them. Years ago, we wouldn't have had this ceremony and we wouldn't have had all these canoes. But now we're making fundraisers and we're setting cases to break like all of the, I don't know, would you say stereotypes, I guess, against Native Americans? Because they don't think, they think teepees and bow and arrows, but it's more than that. So I think that the story I would tell is just where we come from and how we've gotten here.
And so you think that's important?
That's super important.
Why?
Because in history we learn about the French, we learn about Germany, we learn about every country, but we don't stop and think that there was people here before the Titwáatit came, and we need to bring that back, because with the way we live is better for the environment. And I feel like if people knew more about our culture, then they would like change some things, and it would be better for the environment.
So I remember for me, when I was like in 7th grade, this was a light bulb went off over my head. When I was in 7th grade, I went to read my Washington State history book, and I opened it up to the Spokane tribe. There was one line in that entire Washington State history book about the Spokane tribe. That was the moment that I was like, whoa, wait a minute, there's got to be more. What do you remember back when you were like, well, we studied the French, we studied the Dutch, we studied when are we going to study yet? Do you remember when that was?
I was in history class in middle school, and we had to choose a topic and do a project and presentation on it, and I chose the Spokane tribe, and I found 2 websites on the Spokane tribe's history, and I looked for days, but I only found 2 websites. I had to ask my mom for more information because I only had 2 sources. I was like, wow, all of the information and websites on the internet, and there's 2 of the Spokane tribe my whole life. I thought that was insane.
How'd that make you feel?
Since my life is my culture, culture is a big part of my life, it felt like it wasn't very important, because if there's nothing on it, then it basically never happened.
Well, clearly, it did happen.
Clearly.
And clearly, it's a great day to be Indigenous.
Dang it. Inland Northwest Native News. Like and subscribe.